Hey, welcome. Amy Barney here. So, do you ever feel as if you are constantly overlooking or minimizing your accomplishments, and you're always beating yourself up over every mistake you make? I know this is something I've struggled with my entire life. I can think back on so many examples in my life. When I was in Argentina and I had to learn the language super fast, feeling completely overwhelmed, and always picking at myself and beating myself up for my mistakes in the language. More so, and then starting my business, oh my word, did that, I was crazy hard on myself. But I want to share one example of that. And then I want to talk about what the gap focus is, because I was I've been reading this again, The Miracle Morning, and I have to use these flipper glasses because the focus in my eyes is bad. And so I just do 5 minutes a day, and so I'm rereading the book, and I came over this, and it got me thinking a little bit. All right, so when my son was diagnosed with autism, he had he's very picky with his food, and for a very long time, I would beat myself up over it because he would eat the same stuff over and over again. We couldn't get him to eat any of the foods that he really needed to eat, and I just felt like the worst mother because he's having too much of this, not enough of that. And I'm like, I know that he would do better on a specific diet, especially for his autism, to eliminate certain things, but I could not find a way to do that. Now, I mean, this is obviously completely out of my control. I should know that, right? Because there's absolutely nothing, if you know anything about an autistic child, it isn't about, they will literally starve themselves, okay? They will. You can go and offer them this foods that they won't eat, and they won't eat, and they will go days. It's just a different kind of thing. But I would feel so awful. I felt like the worst mother because my son would eat, and I can't remember back then what he was eating specifically, but it hasn't changed much. It's been like this since he started eating food. Very little variation. And I do worry about him tremendously. I don't want him to have diabetes. I don't want him to end up overweight. But there's really not a lot I can do about it without the help of a therapist, which we're slowly working on to change his habits. But I would just felt so awful. I felt like the worst mom. So what is a gap focus? I read this and I was like, I do this, okay? So the gap focus is the potential gap. It's the gap between where we are in life and where we want to be, okay? And so it's like when I was on my mission in Argentina serving and, trying to learn the language, I hyper-focused on the fact, he just won't drink Pediasure. He won't drink anything but water. That's the thing. It's like, I can't get these things into him because he won't even do it. But I've heard that's amazing. I hyper-focused on the fact that I couldn't speak perfectly. And so what did that do? It made me speak worse, right? It can be detrimental to our confidence if we are constantly focusing on that gap between where we want to be and where we are now. It can make us feel like we're not good enough. It can make us, feel like we're, not accomplishing the things that we want to do. But the irony is that high achievers actually do focus on this, right? Because they're constantly trying to close the gap. So how do you find that balance, right? You don't want to be a lazy slob who never does anything to improve their life. But if you hyper focus on that gap, on that, between who you are now and who you want to be, it can create those feelings of not being good enough and the unhappiness in your life. So how do you find that balance, right? That's something I've struggled with my entire life, is always feeling like I'm not good enough. And I gotta say, a big thing, personal development is huge. I've been working, not enough is pervasive throughout my entire life, the feelings. And I think a lot of it is this gap focus. This is why it hit me, is because I'm focusing on who I want to be, and I look back on who I am now, and I feel the gap, and it's painful. And so it's important to see a gap. It is important. You want to be always improving, but you need to find a balance, right? So let's see. So I'm just looking at the notes. See, I like to highlight my book and write all over it. And so high achievers, let's see. To have level 10 success in every area of your lives, you got to be grateful for what you have, regularly acknowledge yourself for what you've accomplished, and you need to be at peace with where you are in your life right now. So it's the idea of I am doing the best that I can in the moment, and at the same time I can and will do better. Now, this has been harder for me to accept. It's taken lots of personal development and going to events and things like that. But as I've done more of that, I've begun to own and accept that I am enough. And that, yes, I still have, yes, thank you. I have that actually in my shower. I put all my affirmations in a envelope sleeve on the outside of the door, and I taped them there, and I read them every morning. So personal development, constantly trying to grow my mind has made a tremendous difference in helping me to see the gap in a different light, because it is important to see it. It is important to want to grow. But it's the way that you interpret the gap between who you are and who you want to be that is going to either help you or it's going to drag you back down. Because if you focus on not being enough, it's just, you're never going to get anywhere. You're not going to accomplish what you want to do. And you're just going to have that negative mindset, which is what I've struggled with my entire life. So here are some tips. And he says the majority of people do dozens, even hundreds of things right during the day and only a few things wrong. And guess what I do at night? I go back and I remember the things I did wrong, right? And I replay it in my mind. Oh, I could have said that better to so-and-so. Oh man, I'm so embarrassed. Like I shared with you guys how I chewed out that therapist and I yelled at her, and so I replayed that in my mind. How could I have done that better? Focusing on that, hyper-focusing on the wrong. So you need to remember that you've probably done like 100 things right and focus on those. It is more enjoyable to focus on the things you've done right than the ones that you've done wrong. So tip number 1, that Hal Elrod is recommending, which I highly recommend this book. Guys, this has totally changed my life, The Miracle Morning. I can't say enough about how much this has changed my life. All right, writing in a journal every day. Okay, this is something I keep forgetting. It's a goal I did last night. I'm working on it. You want to do structured, strategic writing, and you want to focus on the things that you accomplish. And what are you grateful for? And what are you committed to doing better tomorrow? Instead of being negative and focusing on all the things you did terribly, talk about what you accomplished, what you're grateful for, and what do you want to do better? Okay? Because yes, we always have room for improvement. But if all you ever focus on is everything you did wrong, what are you going to get in life, right? That's all you're going to get. And number 2 is take time to celebrate the things you do right. This is something I'm learning with another coach that I'm working with, Ray Higdon. Every Friday, they do like a little dance party. I'm an introvert. I'm not posting a video of me dancing in that group. Heck no, I'm never going to do that. But he has a good point. Like in our business, we work so hard and we often focus too much on what we need to improve and we don't celebrate what we're doing right. And it's so important to take the time to celebrate what you're doing right, because nobody's perfect and we're all doing our best. And the gap focus is important because it is going to help you to improve. But if you only focus on what you're not doing right, it's just going to leave you feeling not enough, depressed, and not very motivated. So anyways, I hope that was helpful. It kind of was like a big aha to me that kind of put a name to what I do. A name to, I think, what a lot of women do is focusing on what they're not good enough. They get a compliment and they're like, oh, well, it's nothing. This shirt, yeah, it's just a hand-me-down. Or, oh, but you look so much prettier than me. Stop it. Okay. Embrace the good that you do. Realize that, yes, you're not where you want to be, but celebrate your accomplishments. Something I'm working on is to let go, not hyper-focus on the things that I don't do right. Focus on what you're doing right, and then make a plan to do something better. Anyways, I hope this was of value to you. It was of tremendous value to me to read it again. I mean, I already read it, but it just hit me differently. I understood it better. If you have any comments and anything you'd love to share about what helps you to, focus on what's important in your life and not ignore the negative, I'd love to hear from you. If this was any value, if you want to share it, feel free to do so. And if you'd like to connect with me, feel free to reach out. All right, love you all. I got to go get my kids ready for school, and I will see you tomorrow morning.